How's it going, Andrew?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Excited to dive into the weeds with product-led content, which is the new, I don't want to say strategy, but the new approach that we're taking at Journey Engine. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of explore the basics of it, to give people some insight into what we're doing over here.
Likewise. Looking forward to getting going.
Okay, before we dive into the questions, maybe you want to give a quick overview of your expertise and what has led you to this point of exploring product-led content.
Definitely. I'm Justin Thomas. I'm founder and lead consultant at Journey Engine. We do SEO and content marketing for technology and education companies. I've been doing content for over 10 years now. And as we've been exploring and learning more about what works, product-led content is probably the best methodology that we've found and the most effective at generating leads and revenue from content. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into the weeds about it.
Okay, awesome. So let's start with a definition then. What is your definition of product-led content and how is it different from traditional content marketing approaches?
Right. So product-led content essentially is content that both solves a problem or a pain point for your ideal customer profile, and then also story sells your product as part of the ideal solution to that problem. So I think how that's different from traditional content is that traditional content does one of those things really well. So either it's focused on selling the product or it's focused on generating interest by solving problems and being entertaining. But rarely does content do both of those things really well. And that's
Mhm.
where product-led content comes in, is it's trying to accomplish both. So it's trying to generate interest by solving a problem and then weaving in your product as a solution in kind of a graceful way.
Good segue then into asking you, can you give us some examples of your successful product-led content campaigns and what made them successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a really good example is a business we worked with called Quantic, which is an app-based business school, an MBA program. And when we came into the picture, they had just launched the product. They were very, very excited about creating this new innovative mobile-based education system. And we see this kind of happen in a lot of businesses when they're so excited about the features and the bells and whistles of the product that it's all they want to talk about. So that's what was happening in this scenario. They were really excited about what they call the pedagogy of the app, which is the educational method that they developed for delivering courses. So that's kind of all that they wanted to talk about on all of their sales pages and all of their content, etc. But I think the problem with that is that the pedagogy was not the pain point that they were solving. It's not their customers, their students weren't going out and looking for the best pedagogy of any program. After we did some discovery for the business, we found that after talking to the sales team, or what they called the admissions team, and the support teams, the number one goal that MBA prospects and EMBA prospects wanted to achieve was they wanted to be either promoted internally within their company, within their role. They wanted to enter an executive position, or they wanted to switch careers and get a high level position in another company. So that's what they needed to talk about. They needed to develop content around helping people solve that pain point, around how to enter a chief marketing officer role and transition from a marketing manager, for example, or how to become a director of finance or a chief financial officer when they were kind of at a mid-level position in finance. So that's what we did for them for this this pillar, or this ideal customer profile. is we started developing content around how to enter the C-suite, how to become a CMO, how to become a CFO, and we solicited information from the subject matter experts internally in all of those different fields, and we produced the best content we possibly could about helping them achieve that goal, and then kind of story selling Quantic's MBA program as an ideal way to get into those positions. And we did that by developing case studies around students who had done that exact same thing. And by doing that, we were able to prove that organic search and content was the best performing and most efficient channel for acquiring leads and bottom line revenue for the business. Another customer pillar that they had was at the enterprise level. So in addition to selling to student prospects, they also needed to sell to chief learning officers so that they could sell many programs at one time. So for them, their goal, the goal of someone in a learning department would be to build a learning culture in their company, to build a learning organization is what they called it. So in those cases, we developed content around how to build a learning organization, even how to be the best chief learning officer. And we inserted case studies on other enterprise groups and corporate learning initiatives that Quantic had done. And we turned those into content pieces and kind of used developing content that helped that audience build a learning organization and story sell Quantic as the ideal program for training their staff and upskilling their staff. So that was kind of a really good example of the transition from being overly focused on selling bells and whistles and features of the product into being more product led, which is focusing on the pain points of each ideal customer profile and story selling the product as part of the journey, part of the solution to solving that problem.
Got it. Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of strategy that goes into the ideation of these topics. Then there's a kind of you need to listen to your customers a bit more and not just look at the keyword volumes, but listen to the problems that the customers are having and then tying that into what you're going to present. So, do you have some sort of process for creating that strategy and developing those topics? Do those insights come from client calls or research that they send you or other means?
Yeah, absolutely. So in answer to your question, yes, it's all about the pain points. That's the starting point for any piece of content is to really nail down what are the actual biggest pain points of each of your ideal customer profiles. So best way to do that is by talking to the customers and getting information from them. So you need to have some type of a discovery process that's going to tell you exactly what the biggest pain points are of the customers. And in the absence of being able to talk to the customers, if you're in a marketing role at your company, I feel the best way possible to get this information is to have a really good relationship with the internal team members you have that interface directly with the customers. So that would be the sales team who talk to prospects every day. That would be the support team who are dealing with problems the customers have on a daily basis, and the success team if you have one. So you're going to need to form a really tight relationship with those people and tease out the biggest pain points, which they should have the best grasp of.
Okay, nice. What are some common mistakes that you see businesses making when trying to implement this strategy?
Definitely. So some of the biggest mistakes I see, like I explained in the Quantic case, the biggest mistake I see companies making out of the gate with their content is what we call selling the shovel. So when you're really excited about your product, you've been in the weeds developing this thing with your engineering team, you're going to be really excited about all the features that you've been working on. So, but that's what we would call the shovel. What you really want to be doing is selling the whole. So, the result, the benefit that you're going to get out of using this product. So, in Quantic's case, that would be the shovel, would be the pedagogy, the innovations that they've developed in delivering education through a mobile app. And the whole would be becoming an educated someone who's in a position to advance at their company. So since that is the pain point, that's the solution, the benefit that they're trying to achieve, that's what they need to be selling. The second biggest mistake that I see content marketers make is being all about driving traffic, all about SEO and choosing the keywords that are going to be driving a ton of traffic for the business without focusing on the pain points. So some of the topics that are going to be really attractive to a lot of SEO people, for example, when you're developing a blog, are going to drive a lot of interest from the audience. It might be entertaining to them. It might be something that they would click, but it's not at all tied to a pain point, and there's no way to story sell the product as part of that solution. And some marketers would probably disagree with me about this a little bit, but I feel that you really need to exhaust all the opportunities you have to help your customers with their actual problems and problems that your product solves before you start going into anything way upper funnel that's not really going to convert into a lead. And so those are kind of the two big issues I see with companies, is being either entirely sales focused and not really doing that the proper way by focusing too much on the features, and number two, being overly top funnel, overly interested in just entertaining the audience and getting the click, and not at all focused on sales. And so I guess you want to be somewhere in between in doing that in a way
Yeah.
that's proper.
Mm. Okay, so I can see that some of these mistakes are sort of potentially linked to thinking about things in the old school SEO way. So then where does SEO actually fit into this model? And what are some best practices for optimizing product-led content and getting it to show up? Because you've mentioned traffic before, and how do we connect these pieces into and tie and bring SEO in, or reshape
Definitely.
our understanding of SEO to include this new kind of paradigm?
Definitely, that's a really good question. So I think that SEO is still super important. So we're not getting rid of SEO anytime soon, but the process needs to change. So traditionally, SEO has been all about, again, you're going to go in, you're going to look at the competitors, you're going to look at keywords that are somewhat semantically related to the product. You're going to find out which topics are going to generate large volumes of traffic, and then you're going to start with that and build content from there. I think the future of SEO, the future of content marketing, is you're really going to start with a deep understanding of the pain points. So, again, after you go to your sales, success, support teams, talk to them, and get an understanding of what those real pain points are, you're going to develop stories. You're going to develop different clusters of content that are around solving those pain points specifically. And that's what you want to start with.
Mm.
After you do that, once you choose those topics, you're going to go in and validate those topics with the best possible keywords that are specifically related to those topics. So, whereas before you might have outsourced the content process completely to an SEO agency or a content agency that isn't really taking into account customer pain points and a deep understanding that your team has internally. In the future, the best way to do this is going to be to start with the pain points and develop keyword research after that point.
Okay. Okay, so let's say I'm a marketing director at a SaaS company and I just raised some funds. How do I know, how can I be sure that a product-led content campaign is gonna how do I know how much resource to dedicate to this? Because with paid traffic, you spend X and you see the result Y. But how can I know that? How can I, one, show my CEO that I've been performing well and have generated some results, and two, show my investors that this is a good course of action?
Definitely. Another good question. So I think that the best way to start any campaign, or before you start any campaign, you need to run some type of a forecast. So what kind of results do you expect you're going to see as a result of this content campaign, and how does it compare to the results that you'd see from other channels? And then, given your marketing budget, you can decide how to divvy up the resources according to that. So, for example, we've developed a process here internally called a traffic projection tool. We run the traffic projection before we work with any client here internally. That traffic projection is going to show you, based on the competitive landscape, how much addressable market you have to generate organic traffic, leads, and revenue based on the topics that might be really good for you, and how much market can we foreseeably capture from the competitors. We do that for a number of reasons, but we want to make sure that we have long-term relationships with the customers, and we're continuing to generate leads and revenue over the long term. So we need to know that it makes sense from the get-go, just as our clients or marketing departments at technology companies need to know that product-led content is a scalable and long-term solution for them. So I
Hmm.
think developing some type of a forecast process is critical before embarking on any type of a content or other marketing campaign.
Yeah, and speaking of the traffic projection, that's something that we at Journey Engine offer for free. So if you want one, just link in the description. You can get a free traffic projection, so you'll know your lead. We can project your leads and sales, so you can know what it's going to look like before you spend any money on a campaign.
Definitely.
So, what metrics should a business track to determine the success of their campaign? Is it different for a product led campaign, or is it broadly similar?
Yeah, good question. I think that in terms of tracking performance, there are certain things that you definitely want to incorporate into ROI. You're going to want to look at how much organic traffic, leads, and revenue you're driving from each content piece you produce. So that's going to take tying in metrics from your site analytics and from your CRM. So that's kind of the base level. You want to compare the revenue, the long-term revenue potential of each one of your content pieces against what you're spending against those content pieces. So that's kind of traditional, basic ROI math. I think one other thing it's important to note if you're going to be working with any type of vendor or agency or team is you want to look at kind of the softer component of return on process is what I call it. So is this agency or team member building a program into our business that we're going to own over the long term? Are they building a process that's going to be sustainable for us, that's going to reduce costs, that's going to reduce training times for new hires? Are they building us a process, a flywheel that we can own and use over the long term? And if that's something that's going to reduce costs for you substantially, if it's something that's going to make your business more efficient over the long term, I think you need to factor that in as well. So I think those are the two important things that I would personally focus on is traditional kind of ROI math, and then also including the how good the process is that any particular vendor brings.
Okay. And with the ROI math, would you, let's say you're brand new to SEO, would you would you put a caveat in place that you should maybe start tracking after the first 3 months, or is there some sort of best practice there? Because SEO usually takes a little while to kick in.
Right. So I think that there are certain things you want to track right away. You want to track if you're working with a team or a vendor, you want to hold them accountable for the project plan they put together. So, how many pieces of content did they say they're going to be producing? Are they meeting those milestones? And then, yeah, for organic traffic, certainly you can expect to wait a little while before traffic starts to pick up. You'll usually see once you start to publish content and then promote that content with backlinks, it usually takes a couple months at least to start ranking that content. So I think that goes back to kind of the traffic projection. So if you're really
Mm.
good at forecasting, you're going to be able to account for those things. You're going to be able to say, this is when you should start seeing organic traffic. This is when you should start seeing leads pick up, and this is when you should start seeing a return. So I think that you need to be setting targets in that way. So for every metric that you're looking at, you want to be able to set a target for every month of the campaign. So then you know every month, are we winning or do we need to go back to the drawing board?
Okay. Quick change of pace. So obviously AI has been the hot topic right now. So there's all these tools and all these solutions popping up. Where do you see all of this going in the age of AI?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that the product led framework is the only way to go in the age of AI. The reason for that is Google's new perspective in response to all of this AI content that's being generated right now is they have refocused their quality guidelines around what's called EEAT: experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. So the initial parts of that expertise and experience can only come from a person. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure that you're coming up with original perspectives that are generated from a person and not just
Mm,
kind of curated from the ether of what's already out there. That's the absolute best kind of content that you can develop. And again, you want to make sure that it's based on your customer pain points and helping them solve those pain points if you want your content to actually generate leads and sell. So,
yeah,
some things I might recommend doing are doing video interviews with your subject matter experts internally and having them kind of work through how to address each one of the customer pain points and then repurposing that for all of your content. I think, yeah, the big thing about, the age of AI is you want to make sure, even if you're using AI to sharpen the pencil on your content, you need to make sure that your content is coming from a person to start with, and that's what Google is looking for you to do in this age. They're looking to make sure that content comes from a person and not just from a business, and
yeah,
that's the way to do it in this age is to come up with that type of content. And if you're doing that, then your content is not going to be duplicatable. Your content is going to be original. It's going to sell better, and it's going to do better with the search engines. So that's really, I think, the way to go in the age of AI, when a lot of companies are just going to be spitting out content that's curated from across the internet and that's not original, that's boring and banal. So yeah, I think the product led approach is particularly good for
yeah.
today's landscape.
And that's exactly what we're doing right now in this process. So we're following what we do for clients for ourselves. So practicing what we preach, kind of trying to lead the way there.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. So how do you identify the right target audience for product-led content, and what factors should businesses consider when creating content that resonates with their audience?
Definitely. So, in terms of choosing the right audience for product led content, there's a couple of things you want to focus on. Number one, you want the audience to be someone who has the problem that your product solves, and they need to know that they have that problem. So, they need to be searching for a solution to that problem and trying to solve it. Again, I don't think that super high funnel topics that your audience might find interesting, but that's unrelated to the problem. That's not really the type of content that's good for the product led approach. Product led approach, you want to get people into the funnel that are looking to solve a problem. Um, Also, I think a good check for your content is that every single piece of content that you publish should double as sales enablement. So you should be able to send it to your sales team and have them use that content in a sales conversation and have that kind of help lubricate those conversations. If if you can get sign off from your sales team, then you can probably bet that it's a really strong piece of content. And I think that's why you want to actually start the process of generating your content topics with the sales, success, and support teams. If you can get their input before you even develop those topics, and then get their sign off after you've put those pieces together, I think you're in a super good position to publish that content.
Okay. And is there a way to keep the content engaging but also informative? Because if we're talking about the product more, that's leaning towards informative more so than engaging. So how do you strike the right balance? Or is it more of an intuitive process, or is there anything else that goes into that?
Yeah, again, I'm going to have to go back to forming that support group of sales, success, support, and the marketing team. So those teams really need to be all very tied together. You need to have a really good discovery process to keep the conversation going between those stakeholders. And yeah, you need to be in constant communication with those teams because they're the ones who are going to have the pulse on your customers. They're the ones who are going to know what the real pain points are and what people are needing to solve. And if you're armed with that information going into creating a piece of content, I think it's almost difficult not to create a piece of content that's going to engage and help the customer. If you're constantly focused on how you can best help people solve their problem. And generally, another kind of check is that you want to be putting out content that you think people would pay for. If you're feeling some conflict, like maybe I should charge for this. This is so good that then that's an indicator that it's a good piece of content. And yeah, I think those are kind of the two things. So giving away things that you would sell for free, and then starting with pain points that you ascertain from your support group internally.
Okay, yeah, I'm just imagining the moment we've all been waiting for where marketing and sales actually get together and start talking to each other
Exactly right. I think
rather
that
than just
that's yeah, totally. I think that's a big problem. That's kind of age old is having your teams be way too siloed. So if you're totally delegating content to a team or an agency that's not kind of talking to these other teams, or at least trying to kind of help that flow, that feedback loop, then it's just going to be weak content. It's not going to be helpful. It's not going to generate leads. It's not going to generate bottom line results for the business. We've seen it time and time again.
hmm Okay, so that leads us into the customer journey. So been talking about leads. So how does product-led content impact the customer journey, and what role does it play in the sales funnel?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think of the customer journey, I like to think of it as different stages of product awareness. So you're starting with someone who's completely unaware. They don't even know that they have a problem yet. And the next stage would be problem awareness. It's someone who knows that they have a problem that your product solves. They don't necessarily know that there's a solution out there for their problem. They're not actively searching for products like yours, but they just know that they have the problem. Next stage of awareness would be solution aware. So they might not be aware that your brand or your product exists, but they are searching for a product like yours to solve their problem. And then the last stage of awareness would be brand aware, product aware, where they know about you, they know about your product, and they're evaluating you against your competitors. So product led content can really work with most any of those levels except the first stage when someone's completely unaware that they even have a problem. Again, you want to be getting in front of people who know that they have a problem, the problem that your product solves. So, for example, if someone is someone knows that they want to that someone knows that they need to solve the problem of internal communication within their company. They're an HR manager and they need to get their team engaged and communicating, but they don't necessarily know that there are software out there that solve that problem. You want to be helping them and educating them on the best ways to improve employee engagement and improve internal communication. Maybe you have a internal communications audit that you're training them how to do in a piece of content, and then kind of gracefully throughout that content piece, you're going to be showing them how your other customers have solved that problem in their organization. You're going to be dropping in case studies. You're going to be kind of story selling your product as a solution. For someone who is at the next stage of awareness, which would be solution aware, they're going to be searching for the best internal communication tool for HR managers, for example. For that type of person, you want to be selling them with sales pages instead of content pages. But you still want to be speaking to their problem and what the benefits that they're going to see as a result of doing your business. You want to stay away from just touting all the bells and whistles of the features of the product, and you want to be speaking to them about what it's going to look like for them when their team is engaged, when their internal communication is on point, and you basically want to be letting them know that they are going to be getting the credit for these great benefits that they're going to be producing by using your tool, and how your tool is doing solving that problem better than any of the other competitors. And then for the people who are brand aware, people who have already seen those pages, people who know about your company, you really want to be dropping lots of case studies. You want to be showing how other customers have solved their problem, and telling their stories in a really succinct and engaging way. So kind of
Mm.
product led content. The only stage of the customer journey product led content isn't for is someone who has no idea that they have a problem yet, right? So yeah, I would say maybe there are some content opportunities at that stage of awareness, but really we don't focus on those. I think there's plenty of opportunity for most businesses to tackle the mid and lower funnel, which are problem aware people, without kind of going way too upper funnel.
Yeah, got it. Okay, nice. So what's your methods for generating leads from the content? So is it someone lands on the page and then there's a book a demo button in the corner of the screen, or do you have any other ninja tactics to share?
Yeah, that's a really kind of hot topic right now, and I think there's a lot of varying opinions about how to generate leads with content. Some marketers are kind of averse to any type of traditional lead generation tactics or any type of opt-ins within the content. So they basically just want to produce the type of content we've been talking about. They want to really help their audience in the most authentic way possible, and they don't want to be asking for anything in return. But then they'll be offering a demo request whenever the customers are ready, and that's certainly the least pushy route you can go. It's super organic, and I think you can still story sell your product without kind of being too aggressive. Other marketers are using things like content upgrades, downloadable content like white papers, toolkits, etc., and they're dropping that into the content in exchange for an email address. And once they get the email, of course, they're going to be doing email communications where they're continuing to provide value through email, and kind of continuing to story sell the benefits and the solution of the product. We've seen that work super well. And then another way you might want to generate leads, and kind of one of the best ways to do it if you can, is by offering a free tier of your product. So basically making it as seamless as possible for a user to jump right in and start using your tool right away. So I think that these are all things that you can embed within any product-led content piece. And if in my opinion, you want to be testing all these things out and seeing how they work for you. So if you can do it, I would test all three and see which one works best for you.
Okay, perfect. In my opinion, the ultimate kind of illustration of product-led content, or one thing that can just take everything up a notch, is a live demo. Because to me, it's quite shocking how many companies don't have a live demo because they're asking for time, you know? It's like busy people, especially if you're selling to enterprises, don't necessarily have 15 minutes to jump on a call, or they don't have an open spot for a while. So I think a live demo is a nice bridge because they can still get a feel for your product or see if it's right for them within a few seconds. Video communicates way more than a picture could or words could. So what do you think about live demos?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can develop a live demo and kind of work that in to your product-led content, work that into a problem that someone might already be having, then I think that can certainly be one of the best ways to story sell, and one of the best things you can do for lead gen. Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, finally, last question. Can you share some tips or advice for SaaS companies looking to incorporate product-led content into their overall marketing strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a few things to kind of recap. I think number one, you want to sell the hole, not the shovel. So, you want to be starting with pain points and benefits and the solution that your customer is trying to get to, instead of focusing on the bells and whistles of the product. And best way to do that is by either directly talking to your customers or by talking to your internal team who interface with the customers every day, like sales, success, support teams, for example. And other thing is, don't be overly focused on search volumes or keywords or kind of the traditional things that we're focused on in SEO. Keyword research is important, but again, most important thing is addressing pain points. That's the number one thing that you want. And we've actually even seen zero volume keywords generating the most value, the most bottom line value for businesses. So, keyword research, an important part of the process, not where you start the process. You want to start the process by talking to the customers, by talking to your internal team, by getting those pain points, and then again, selling the hole, not the shovel.
Perfect. And also creating content that works as sales enablement, so you've got that extra ammunition when it comes to
Exactly right.
making the
Every
sale.
single piece of content you publish, you want it to double as sales enablement. So your sales team will be a really helpful partner to you in kind of approving and validating your content at the beginning and at the end of the process.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for your insight. Do you want to tell them a bit more about traffic projection and how to get it before we
Yeah,
sign off?
absolutely. So again, best way to start any product-led campaign is with a forecast or a projection. And right now we're offering that traffic projection for free. So you're going to get an idea of exactly what your competitors are doing, exactly the size of the addressable market, and exactly how much that you can expect to capture of that market in terms of bottom line leads and revenue for your business. So if you're interested in seeing that information, we're offering that for free right now. Just fill out the form. It's all over the website, so you shouldn't have a problem finding that. And we look forward to talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Good talking to you.